Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today. If you are not aware, you have logged in to listen to a session on building a growth-focused business plan, and we have a fabulous lineup for you today. So I am honored to be able to share a couple of key nuggets when we're looking at building out a brokerage, when you're looking at growing a brokerage, and actually looking at your brokerage business plan moving forward. But before we do that, I want to just take an opportunity to introduce myself to you all. My name is Natalie Davis. I am joining you from the beautiful state of Colorado. I am a realtor, a speaker, a business coach, and I hang my license currently with Keller Williams Realty in the downtown area in Denver. And I am honored to be your moderator for today's session. Joining me on the panel is Brad Nix, who is the CEO and owner of Path and Post Real Estate. So Brad, thank you so much for taking the time and to share with us and sharing your knowledge with us. I'm happy to have you with us today. And then we also have Charlie Oppler, who is the managing partner and CEO of Prominent Properties Sotheby's International Realty. That's a mouthful. So Charlie, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us as well. I'm really looking forward to just an afternoon that is packed with so much information. Our hope is that you all have key takeaways that you can apply to your business today, and absolutely taking the opportunity to apply them to your business plan as you head into mid-year checkup or even into business planning for 2024. We also have Jenny Wakefield that's joining us, who is the product marketing manager for BrokerMint. And I'm actually going to turn it over to Jenny to give us a quick update on BrokerMint with what's going on and some of the key features that we have access to. Jenny.
Yeah, thanks, Natalie. I will take 30 seconds of your time and then let y'all get on with the show. So if you don't know about BrokerMint, we are a modern back office platform. We have solutions from transaction management to commission automation to real estate accounting. We like to say that we help you close your deals faster, pay your agents easier, and track your brokerage KPIs better in one platform. So we do help clients all across the United States, whether you're a small independent brokerage or you are a large franchise. I'm pretty confident we can help you out. So if you are in the market for a consolidated back office platform, please visit brokermint.com and you can learn all about us and learn a little bit more and see if we fit for your business. So Natalie, I'll pass it back to you and have a great webinar.
Fabulous. Thank you, Jenny. And if you're looking for that link, it's on the screen. So brokermint.com. Great tools and resources that are available to you. So thank you so much, Jenny, for sharing that quick insight for us. For our attendees today, if you are taking the time out to join us, if there are questions that you should have as we are working our way through the session today, please use the questions pane in your panel or questions pane to pose questions to the panel, and we will get those answered in the order that they pop in and as they relate to the content that we're going over and sharing today. So without further ado, gentlemen, are you guys ready? I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this. Okay. So wonderful, wonderful. So here's what I want to start with, then and now. So there's probably a slim chance that there are folks that are joining in today that may not have had the opportunity to meet you, Brad or Charlie. So I'm going to start with you, Brad, because you're at the top of my screen. Just tell us a little bit about who you are and how you started on this journey to your team ownership model.
Yeah, sure. Brad Nix with Path and Post Real Estate. We're based out of North Atlanta, and I've been in the industry 25 years, and we started Path and Post back in 2013 as a team in the ERA franchise. We were the top team in the country for several years in a row before we decided to leave the franchise and go independent in 2016. So we've been an independent team brokerage since 2016. We started that with about 8 agents and a couple of staff members back then. And over the years, we've grown to 31 agents, 6 staff today, plus me and a partner, and just serving North Atlanta.
Fabulous. Thank you, Brad. Charlie, I'm going to turn it over to you. Same question. Tell us about a little bit about who you are and your journey to brokerage ownership.
Thanks, Natalie, and it's great to be here. I started in 1981. I worked for the March of Dimes for 9 months, recruited 2 of the top independent brokers to serve on a volunteer basis. They, in turn, told me what real estate would do for my career. Neither one told me it was commission business. 42 years later, I'm still in the business. I was an agent and a manager, and then went out on our own, myself and a partner in 1992. We were an independent for 17 years, and then we acquired the Sotheby's franchise in northern New Jersey by acquiring another company. And in 2009, we were 6 offices, 285 agents, and about 450 million in business. In the last 2 years, 21 and 22, we did roughly 6 billion, 3 billion each year. We have about 800 agents and 15 offices in northern and central New Jersey. My part-time volunteer work, I served as a local president of a board of realtors in 1996, the state of New Jersey in 2004, and I was honored to serve the membership as the National Association of Realtors president in 2021. And even though I'm not on the leadership team, I still stay very active with helping and being ears to this leadership team. So it's been a great career. It's a great business, and I think I'm probably about halfway through it.
About halfway. I like that. That's promising. You have to give us hope, right? There's always that transition. So that's beautiful. Well, Charlie, that's exactly, exactly. You shared that you were NAR president in 2021. So first and foremost, thank you for doing that, and thank you for serving all of the members. Around that time, our industry started to see some shift, some change. And I think if anything, it is the only time that I can think of, outside of, 2007, 2008, where the entire country kind of experienced similar change at the exact same time. 2020, 2021, the entire world was experiencing similar change at the exact same time. Kind of tell us how you were able to navigate your brokerage through that changing time, 2020, 2021, 2022.
Well, I think the one thing we all learned is that we had to figure out how to go forward. You didn't have time to just sit there. Fortunately, in New Jersey and most of the states in the country, real estate was declared an essential business during the pandemic. But, leading up 2018, 19, even the beginning part of 20, was just a continued expansion of the real estate market. There was activity that was pretty strong. We also had the inventory challenges back then. They've been exacerbated now. But March of 2020, all of a sudden, we had to learn that, real estate wasn't going to be the same going forward. Everything would be virtual. You had all the ability to do that for years. Think about virtual tours. Think about everything that you had the ability to do, but no one ever did it. Now, all of a sudden, you were thrust into a survival mode to understand that people were going to buy and sell. People had to move. We are fortunate to be outside of New York City, so we have a lot of different marketplaces that we could offer to buyers and sellers and renters just to get away from some of the things that they experienced. I'll give you one example, and I'm sure Atlanta had some of the same things. High-rise buildings allowed one person in an elevator at a time. So those residents left New York, moved to New Jersey, rented houses, bought houses, because they didn't have the ability to get into their apartments without waiting 2 and 3 hours sometimes to go home. So that increased our market when we got back to being very active, which was about a 3-month delay. And we took every precaution possible with masks and gloves and you name it. We certainly tried to keep safety at the forefront of everything that we did. But we just learned to adapt to the marketplace. And then we all know what happened by June, July, August of 2020. The real estate market absolutely took off, defying all the odds of the economy. Because survival and shelter were the two dominant factors for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think that's, it speaks volumes in terms of, like you said, we had tools and resources that were at our disposal, but they were, they were amenities. We didn't necessarily pay a lot of attention or special attention to those tools and resources until we were forced to do so. And now they've just become part of business as usual, right? Now they're tools that we continue to use. The other key piece is adapting and understanding how your market is changing. So seeing the influx of the population that's coming in from New York, understanding what their wants and needs are so that your clients can best answer and serve them, you know, for those that are looking to buy and settle in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we had the unique situation that many um, homeowners in New Jersey also own property in Florida, whether they leased them out during the year or used it themselves. So many people left New Jersey and went to Florida where they already had a residence because the restrictions in Florida were a lot less stringent than they were in New Jersey. You know, Florida, there were many areas of Florida that don't think they ever had a pandemic, okay? Where our governors in New York and New Jersey really had the epicenter of COVID right from the beginning in March and April, where unfortunately so many people were sick and passed and the hospitals couldn't handle the overflow. So we had people that just went to their other homes and isolated and did that as well. And again, we worked with our agents on a daily basis. We got into Zoom, we got into conference calls, we got into every part of their life. And the most important thing was just to make sure they were okay as people.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of the day, unless you have that relationship with them as people, you're not going to have that relationship with them as agents.
I love that.
I think that was a big part of what we did.
Yeah. And Charlie, I want to circle back around to that in a little bit, just in terms of the relationships that you both have with the agents, the investment that you have in the office, because I think that plays a big role when you're creating this sense of community within the brokerage, if it's on the team within the brokerage, in terms of the experience that you're going to give to your agents and the experience, ultimately the experience that you create for your clients, which is, you know, why we're all here in terms of serving. I love it. Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Brad, I have the same question for you. 2020, 2021. Tell me, how were you able to pivot, adjust, shift while we were going through all of the transition and change?
Yeah, a lot of the same things that Charlie said, and I think most of the attendees here will nod their head. And like, I think we all had to go through that, and we're super thankful that the real estate industry did what it did through those couple of years. And I will say the pandemic, and from a business sense, has been one of the best gifts we've ever had. And I don't just mean the increase in activity and the volume and the sales that came with it. What I really mean on that is from an operations standpoint. It fundamentally changed the way we operated. While we were always remote and virtual and paperless brokerage, what it did is it enabled us to build two of probably our most valuable elements that we still have in place today because of the pandemic. I'll point a couple of them out. One of them is it started early on when everyone was in isolation and stay-at-home orders and stuff. Like, we would get together on Zoom and literally just have a happy hour with our team, just so we could see each other and virtually toast people. And what started as that little quick hangout, every week we would invite like a local bartender who was out of work, and we would virtually send him, you know, PayPal and Venmo and tip them as a way to kind of pay it forward in the community. And what started as a really like organic, we need to connect with each other and our community, it became, still to this day, our most attended event. Now, we did switch from happy hour to coffee, and it happens every Wednesday morning now, and it is the most well-attended, most collaborative session that our team has every single week. We truly get better on a weekly basis now because of that, where before it would happen, you know, ad hoc or monthly. It's now a routine that our team looks forward to gathering, sharing what worked, what didn't work, challenges, helping each other overcome, implementing strategies real time, whether it's a multiple offer scenario, special stipulations around appraisal gaps and how to word things, like really tactical, specific strategies are shared now on a weekly basis. And that's really been the best benefit for our team. And the second thing that I think we've really learned and scaled is the virtual hiring, recruiting, onboarding training, mentoring, that whole element of a brokerage that used to be like, come into the office and I'll help you set up your tech, or come into the office and I'll teach you how to log into the MLS. Like all of that we scaled virtually. And it's really made us much more efficient and effective at not only bringing new people on, but supporting existing team members from anywhere at any time. It's now in the palm of their hand on their phone instead of like having to schedule a chat or something. It's those two things. I really am thankful for the pandemic to push everyone in that direction where we just had to do it. And now it's just a part of who we are.
I love that, Brad. I think that's a key piece when you're looking at the benefit of the pandemic. And I know, and saying that with, complete respect, given the scenario that we were in, it really prompted you to understand, like being that support system for the agents, bringing back, bringing everything back in, maybe even closer to home, and then still forcing us to grow, right? So when you're automating everything, sometimes we have those things that are on our to-do list that we'll get to one day. That day came.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's great. I love it. Well, one of the quotes that I have, and I think you guys are going to incorporate a couple of the Yogi Berra quotes as we go through, but it's like deja vu all over again, right? So here we are, 2023. No surprise, we're experiencing change and shift again in our market. One of the things that's really important, and Brad, you started to touch on this, so I'd love to have you continue to take us down that path and it's in terms of maintaining a growth mindset, right? Like, what is that mindset, or what are some of the things that you're doing to help you in maintaining that growth mindset as you're continuing to move the team forward this year and into the future?
Yeah, I definitely talk about mindset all the time. It's kind of how we hire, how we coach, how we grow people. Just to define the difference of the fixed mindset, they believe that things are the way they are, and things come and go and they happen to you, versus the growth mindset, and you're looking to, like, change is always part of life, and you can't wait to see what's around the corner, and you're kind of leaning forward into that change. And we really believe that you need a growth mindset to succeed in real estate. We talk about real estate being a game a lot, that we're all playing in this game. But we need to understand that it's an infinite game. It is not a finite game like basketball or baseball, football, where there is, score and beginning and end clocks. Like, there is no clock running. This is an infinite game, and the only way to win an infinite game is to make sure that you keep playing. The other alternative is failure, right? You just lose the game when you can't stay in business anymore and you fail out. And unfortunately, I think that's going to happen to a lot of agents in the shifting market because they don't have a growth mindset. They're like, well, it's not the way it was, so maybe I'll just wait on the sideline until it comes back to that. Well, what if it never does? And what we need to do, and what we talk to our agents all the time, is like, how do you lean into this change, and what behaviors and attitudes and actions do you need to change to win in this new environment? And we boiled it down to two key skills for our team. We believe that it's empathy and authority that will help you through these shifting markets, and always leading with empathy and understanding what consumers have it tough right now. And rates are bouncing up and down, affordability is an issue, banks are failing over weekends, and it's like, what should I do? Should I buy or sell? It's a scary time to be going through a major life transition. And we need to understand that. We need to have empathy first and foremost, and really lead with empathy. What's prompting you to move? Why are you considering going through this? Look, I think technology sometimes makes this industry feel like, oh, it's click button easy. And the reality is it's not. This is a hard decision. And we need to really be there in that moment with the individual customer. Why are you going through this hard thing in life? It's not easy. And we can help you, and we'll make it easier, and we'll make it better, but why are you even considering it? And we need to start there with that empathy and really understand that. And then we say authority, and I don't mean, ego or attitude about authority. It's really about confidence. And it's real simple, like, we're good at this. We're the best in the local market. You're in good hands. And to the consumer, empathy and authority sounds like this. It's like, I know what you're going through, and I can help. It's that simple. It's that sentence. It's like, I know how to help you. I'm the authority in this. And I understand. I have other clients who have been in similar situations. And really just leading through that and becoming a trusted guide is where we put all of our energy week to week, day to day.
I love that. Thank you, Brad. I think that's huge, and I appreciate you focusing on those two key areas, right? It's empathy and authority, and it's I can, as you said that statement, right? If this is the example of what it sounds like, I could just envision that sense, that sigh of relief, right, from the consumer, like, oh, they understand it, they get it, they are here to help me, and they're knowledgeable, and they're the trusted guides. I love that, the trusted guides to help me through this big life change. And with all of the external factors happening, we know that our clients are still experiencing life, right? So, and it's those life experiences that trigger the real estate needs in most occasions. So, being able to truly have understanding and compassion and empathy with those individuals as they're navigating through it, those things won't stop, right? Job changes, birth, death, divorce, marriage, those all are going to continue regardless of the external factors that are happening in the world.
That's right.
Thank you for
Life
sharing
happens.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it will. It will. Charlie, you were able to maintain a growth mindset as we were shifting through the market as well in terms of how you were organizing your leadership. I'd share a little bit about your organizational change in terms of bringing on some of your C-suite and restructuring where everyone's focus is so people can stay in their lanes, I guess, ultimately.
Yeah, first, I want to just piggyback on what Brad said because I think it's a great point. I would look at authority more as experience. You know, if you go back to '08 through 13, those buyers and sellers were sheer panic because of everything they read, and it was new. You know, it was a new phenomenon of short sales and foreclosures and job market just really went south, if you will. Um, so to me, I think authority and experience really go hand in hand. That we've been there. So not only the empathy, right, because you have been through this up and down, and many of our agents have also experienced the same things that every home seller and buyer have gone through because at some point in their life they're also a buyer and a seller. Um, so I think the first thing from our standpoint in terms of being able to grow was the education part of this. You know, our agents had to understand, and we all know that agents, when you're in a commission business, are always up and down, right? We're the ones who have to be the even keel to make sure things go forward. I look at growth as we restructured. You know, I knew I was going to be potentially, not knowing COVID was on the horizon, not necessarily in the office as much as I've been over, so many years. So we have 15 offices. I had two managers in two parts of our company, work with the managers so that our other managers and agents had somebody to go to in case I was unavailable. Second of all, we separated production from administration. So the operations side, my 36-year-old son has been with us for 13 years. He stepped into the operations, the accounting, the relocation, the licensing, the marketing, um, so many different facets, the human resources. Worked with our chief legal officer to make sure forms and everything that was going to take place just moved smoothly. It left me the time to spend with agents. Now 2020 and 21 hits, and we're already in a position where the back end of the operations would move smoothly, and I could focus on people. And the only way people can grow is understanding what's happening and knowing that the world didn't end, right? We were going to still do business. You know, we all know with Y2K, right? We all panicked in 2000 that the world was going to end then. Then in 2008, 2009, and 10, right, the banks collapsed. And maybe this is a prelude that we've got a couple of banks that have collapsed recently. But banks have collapsed. The real estate market really went down. But we survived. And I was taught a long time ago, if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. There is no standing still. So where Brad talks about educating and working with his team to grow every day, you have to look at opportunities as an owner every day. And I look at each office as a profit center, and I look at each agent as a profit center, because if we take them, and we're very selective versus just recruiting anybody, we value our culture and we value the members of our team, both management, administrative, and agents. If we can grow, it's because we have people that we think fit what we do. And we have 800 agents in 15 offices. There's offices in our marketplace with 400 or 500, and I'm sure Brad sees it in Atlanta, 400, 500, 600 agents in an office. I look at per person productivity. Can we take somebody and help them grow their business? And at the same time, can we make them be part of what we do? We do a lot of volunteer work. We are involved in every community. We're in the process now of structuring the March of Dimes Walkathon on April 30th, and we're going to have a team in each office. Well, once you start that, now the offices compete, but they compete for the betterment of their community. So I think, again, if you're going to grow, you need to understand where you are, where you want to go. And, you know, one of the things we talk about is if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So you have to have a plan to get to where you want to be. And I think when you think forward, you have that opportunity to make a difference in not only your community, but also in your business.
I love it, Charlie. Well, and that's not the road quote that I use, but I want to come back to that because I think that it is that is an important piece, right? In understanding where you're going. And we talk about growth mindset, and growth mindset is important. And I know that we probably have attendees that are thinking growth mindset is great and all, but we need, like, what about numbers? Like, what about production? Like, what does that look like? So, Brad, I'm going to toss it back to you. If we maintain this growth mindset, right? So we're in this infinite game. We still need to know, we need to measure our results, right? So give us like your KPIs. What does that look like? How do you navigate through that?
Sure. A couple different lenses I'll give you on numbers. At a team level, at the agent level, consumer level. So as a team brokerage, our client is the buyer and seller, and it's also the client for the agent. So as a team brokerage, it's unified in delivering that experience. And so what we're trying to do at the client level is 3 simple KPIs. One is a met rate. What percentage of opportunities are you meeting face-to-face? And you know, we used to just count in-person showings or listing appointments as face-to-face, and the pandemic taught us that we count video as face-to-face now. So this meeting would count as a face-to-face opportunity. So the first step we're measuring is what percentage have you met? If you've met 50% or more, that's a good start, right? Because we know if our people get face-to-face with a consumer, they can help them. And that's step 1. And step 2 that we're measuring is that conversion rate. Like, are you able to help the consumer get what they want? And the number 1 way to measure that is, did they buy or sell? Because no one's signing a document to move forward if they're not comfortable with it, especially at this level of price. So it confirms we help them achieve their goal by getting them to the closing table. That's their goal when they enter this transaction period of life. And then the third thing that we're measuring, and it's probably the most important KPI we have, and that's a review rate. Are you getting a 5-star review through this experience? Did the consumer love working with you to the point where they went online, gave you a 5-star review, and raved about you to the friends and family and strangers on the internet? If those 3 things keep happening at the pace that we've established, then everyone's going to win. Brokerage succeeds, our agent succeeds, and our clients succeed with raving success. So those are our core KPIs at a team level. But I think you're also talking about, how do we grow this thing that we've done? If we keep measuring this, how do we grow that? One thing that we're looking at this year as a broader view is, can we generate more opportunities in a shrinking market, right? So how does that look? It's twofold. One is we need to generate more leads, literally. And we view that as company generated revenue, because we do share our lead opportunities with our agents and work them together. So that's company generated revenue, and am I generating more? And you can count that at per lead or revenue. Both of those ways to measure the company generated opportunities. And the other way is agent count. Do we need to hire more agents to service all the opportunities that we're generating? And if both of those are true, we're growing. The business is increasing. Otherwise, you have agent count dwindling or lead volume shrinking. And so those are pretty simple metrics that we look at a high level. Is if we may need to spend differently to generate opportunities. We may need to recruit differently to get the right agent who has the right mindset in this kind of market to succeed. But ultimately, if we do those two things and then deliver on those consumer experience KPIs that I talked about, then we all win together.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Brad. And when you look at those 3 core KPIs, are those KPIs shared with the agents as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Every agent on our team gets a monthly scorecard that reviews those KPIs. We're coaching week to week. We're meeting ad hoc as needed. And then they get an actual data sheet of their scorecard and how they're doing. So they always are aware of where they stand. And there's relevant coaching to follow up to support them any metric that may be weak. And let's be honest, I think the hardest one right now is the MET rate, because consumers are like, I'm not sure if now's the right time. So I don't even know if I want to go look at that house. I don't even know if I want to meet an agent yet. So that is the hardest one. And what we're doing now is focusing on how do you increase a MET rate in a shrinking market. And the thing we found is find new ways to add value. And that's always going to be true in any market, but we're really dialing that in this kind of shifting market is what can I give this stranger on the internet who doesn't like me or trust me yet, right? How do I get them to like me or trust me? And just give them items of value, be it information they don't have access to, which is typically a seller disclosure statement, maybe it's a plat, maybe it's some neighborhood information. We are just proactively seeking that out, sending that to them as a way to add value without any expectations of anything in return. The number one thing we found that they're seeking is things that are off market. Like consumers, if they're searching to buy a home, they feel like they can do it themselves with all the internet tools and everything. But the reality is there's a lot of properties, even on the MLS, that are in a hold status or a coming soon status or a status that the general public can't see yet or at all. And so we're constantly trying to find ways to share these off-market opportunities to truly provide value. Like we have something that you can't get, and we're here to help.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that. Charlie, I'm going to toss it to you. Same question. Growth mindset in theory and in reality, it's great, right? Maintaining that. It keeps us motivated to keep going in the direction that we need to go. But where are we going? What are those KPIs? What does that look like for you? For 800 agents, what does that look like?
I guess it looks a little bit different. I look at a couple factors for us. Number one, we look at our agents as partners, because if we're not providing value to them, then we're falling short. And as Brad talked about his team working with their buyers and sellers, we know that that's the relationship that our agents have. So we need to make sure that the mindset of our agents and what we can measure is that they know every transaction they're involved with, every relationship they are. They're a partner with the seller. They're a partner with the buyer. Because if they don't have that relationship, yes, it's professional, but they have to know that this is somebody they can trust. And trust is always the biggest factor for the consumer, because if they don't trust their agent, they're not going to work with them. And we talk about a service business, right? But we're a skills business in my mind. Brad and his team get hired because they're good at what they do. They know how to negotiate. They know how to market. They know how to present. We want to make sure our agents are the same way. The second factor that we have to do is we have to make sure that our managers work with our administrative team to make sure all the tools that we have that are provided by Sotheby's and what we do as a company are clearly presented to our managers, to the agents, and then, finally to the consumer. Because if there's a campaign that we've spent time and money on, it doesn't have any value if we can't communicate it. So we know that that's a big part of it. And we all know that bad news travels a lot faster than good news. So one of the factors that I look at, quite frankly, is where Brad will look at 5-star reviews. I'm worried about the 1-star calls. You know, if I'm not getting complaints consistently, that means that we've gotten our message through. And I'm going to get somebody that's unhappy, but maybe they're unhappy because they're overpriced. Maybe they're unhappy because they're not listening to the person they hired. And maybe they're not happy because we didn't do something that we either promised or that somebody in our company fell short. You know, I'll listen to everybody because the only way I'm going to learn for us to get better is to listen. And again, where you look at 5-star reviews, that to me, our teams do, our agents do. That's what they do with the consumers to make sure that their online presence and everything that they do is a 5-star level. But I'll know where we sit as a company by the 1-star calls I get. Because if they pick up during a market that we're in terms of transition where it's multiple offers on every listing that's coming on the market because inventory is so challenged, then we may have an issue. But at the same time, when that phone doesn't ring, it means, you know what? Even if you lost a multiple bid situation, you were comfortable with the way the offer was presented. You know, if you went in at 600 on a 580 and it sold for 750, if you weren't a 750 buyer, guess what? The agent didn't make a mistake. You ultimately decide what course of action you want to take as the consumer. We're the conduit, but we must be the conduit the right way every time. And it's not once, twice, whatever. It's every time. Yeah. That's how you set yourself apart as a team, as an individual, and as a company. So that's what I look for.
I love it. I love it. And here's what I notice as a consistency. If it's 800 agents, if it's 30 agents, it does not matter about the structure. One thing that is consistent with the two of you is that there is a sense of buy-in, not just from leadership, not just from owners, but all of the agents understand that they play a role in the success of the company. So really like pinpointing that and not keeping it a secret. I think at one point it was a secret, right? I don't know how the company is successful. Is it ancillary services? Is it production? Like, what does that look like? And it's very clear. Remove all of the chatter. Here are the 3 key areas that we're going to focus on this year, and this is what's going to make sure that we're productive. The other consistent piece between the two of you is client experience, right? At the end of the day, you're working to equip the agents with the tools that they need so that they can provide exceptional client experience, because that's the brand, it's the reputation, that's the continuation of the company moving forward, not just in 23 and 24. We're talking about 10, 15, 40 years from now. That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, and one of the things we look at, you know, we're a bigger company. You know, we're certainly not as big as some of these mega conglomerates, 3, 4, 5, 8,000 agents, but 83% of our agents did business last year. That far exceeds an industry average, and I'll leave it at that. But we want to make sure that if we have people in our company, that they have the ability to do business. We're not just looking to say, okay, join us, and there's the telephone, and you know, good luck, and go and prospect and make cold calls. And again, not that we don't have agents that make cold calls and do door knocking and do all the basics, but you got to understand what you're doing first. And again, 83% of people doing business is really high for this industry. And I'm sure all the people that are in attendance understand that number pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a key piece. So thank you for sharing that, Charlie. And it's, I oftentimes see, we talk about the agents that get distracted by the shiny objects, right? It's maybe I should try this in my business and try that. Here's the reality. We have brokers that get distracted by the broker owners that get distracted by the shiny objects as well, right? It's maybe I should track this instead or track that. It's really dialing in. What is it that, where is it that you're going, and how are you going to get there, and really dialing in on what are those KPIs that are going to get you to that end destination. That's fabulous. I want to remind the attendees, if you have questions, drop it in the question panel. We are happy to get those answered for you. A wealth of knowledge on the panel today. So until those come in, gentlemen, I have another question for you. Brad, I'm going to throw it back to you because you started us down this path when we were talking about, you know, the shift in the market, 2020, 2021, what that looked like and how you were able to pivot as a company in terms of practices for the team. Talk to us about the recruiting, retention, and growth. And I extract and separate all three of them. So if you want to talk to them all three individually, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, sure. I think the biggest thing that we learned is as a brokerage, like recruiting, it seems to come and go. It seems like, hey, this is the year we're going to recruit a bunch, or this is the season of recruiting. And it's like a lot of fits and starts, it feels like, it's through my years of being in the industry. And I really wanted to solve that. And what I did is I worked hard to bake it into just the natural flow of our day-to-day so that we're always sort of recruiting internally. And we do that by, at the time we get a transaction closed, I talked about reviews a lot. We're looking for that 5-star review from the consumer, but internally, our agents are turning in their paperwork and they're rating the co-agent internally. So they're giving them a 1 to 5-star rating every single transaction. So we're constantly curating who are the best agents to work with in our local market. And that becomes our list of like, who would we want to be on our team? We want to work with the best. We want to maintain our brand reputation. So that has been really helpful from a recruiting standpoint of like our agents really identify who they love working with and we go talk to them. This is a basic answer of that recruiting answer. And you know, we just do it all the time now. It's not like, hey, this is recruiting season, let's go find a way to get the 10 best agents. Like it's just organic, constantly happening. And once we get them, and we really shifted our online, even the application process is way more digital, but better. It's usually when things go digital, they get worse, right? Like, it's not as good a human experience, right? Like I'd rather meet face to face, but it actually got better because of video. Video is such a powerful tool. Every applicant now who wants to work at our team has to submit a video with their application. And we want to see them. We want to feel their energy. We want them to know their personality. Are they a good fit? Do they share our values? That's really the first thing we're looking for. We can teach skills all day long. I can't teach somebody to be a good person, right? So we're doing that from the get-go. So everything has become more digital, more video-centric, and I don't want to say automated, but enhanced. I would say technology's enhanced the hiring process all the way through to once they do on board. We do meet in person. I don't want to act like we don't ever meet on, like we do finally get face-to-face. But we're already excited to meet each other. We already know a bunch about each other. So it's not the, you know, let's have coffee and try to figure out if we like each other. We already like each other. We wouldn't be face to face in real life now. And then it goes so much deeper, so much faster to see if it's truly a values fit for the hire. And after that, we just begin onboarding, which then goes back to the technology enhanced. They go at their own pace. They've got a coach guiding them through that process. And that helps, you know, from that beginning step, we found like if you hire right, your retention takes care of itself. So we try to hire really slow and fire fast to keep that culture where it should be at a team level so that we don't have any bad apples on the team or anything. Like I've got a separate philosophy on there's 4 types of workers at a company. I don't care what kind of company it is, real estate or any company. There are makers who make a lot of the work and come up with the ideas to test. And then there are the doers who are the first one to get in line and test it and tell them if it works or not and give that feedback loop. And then there are the followers who are waiting for a proven process with a step-by-step direction. And then I'll follow the checklist and check it off every time. And you need all 3 of those to run a company, right? But there's a 4th type you want to get rid of as quick as possible, and those are the complainers. They're the first to complain. They don't even follow the process. They don't even want to try something new. And so we're just looking to get rid of the complainers and find more makers, doers, and followers all the time.
I love that. That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Brad. I'm just going to ask a quick follow-up question, and we don't have to get too far in the weeds, so just an aerial view. Do you have qualities, traits, attributes that you typically look for when these video applications are coming in?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we hire and fire based on values. We have three core values on our team: respect, unity, the golden rule plus. And if we believe we're aligned on a values level, we can teach them the real estate skills. We do disc test and all of that personality type stuff. So there are some preferences there, but there's not a hard line on that. Our hard line is values. If we think they don't align on our values, for whatever reason, everybody's got different values in life. That's fine. It's not for us. And the first thing we do is if you get out of line on value respect, that's when you get removed too. So I would say the values are really our gold standard on hiring and firing. But yeah, there's some disc stuff in there.
Yeah, perfect. And put a pin in the values piece because I want to come back and dive into that a little bit more for our attendees. Charlie, I want to talk to you. When you're looking at recruiting, retention, and growth, like just even your philosophy around recruiting, it's very unique. It's the first time that I've heard it, and I love it. So talk to us a little bit about your recruiting process, the work that you and your managers and the rest of your team do in terms of retention and growth.
There's so many different facets to it. I'm a face-to-face person as well. So for instance, tomorrow I have an appointment at 7:30 a.m., 9 a.m. I'm meeting a $25 million team at noon. And then I have some afternoon things that I'm working with some of our agents. I want to be face-to-face because the two things I can judge, in my opinion, not that I'm always right, are going to be passion more than anything else. If you're not passionate about this business and you're methodical and you're, well, let me see how it works. The people that are analytical for me just aren't the same as somebody that's passionate. So whether it's an employee as we grow our team or salespeople, there's got to be a passion about the industry. To me, after 42 years, it's still the greatest business in the world because it's people. We all have the same product to sell, right? If you look at the MLS, in our area, 9,000 agents will have access to the same inventory because that's the amount of subscribers in one of our MLSs. Like everybody else, we have too many. But there's an example of knowing who's going to be the player. The other thing I look at, and you can't see my computer screen, but I have 5 Post-its. Those are the 5 top teams or agents that I want to bring to my company. And they just stare me in the face until one of them joins. Then that one's going to be replaced. So I'm always selecting and targeting who I think make us better. Do I know everybody in the marketplace? No. Do I know more than most? Yes, because I've been in the same market for a long time. But I work with our managers. We're consistently talking about those that we think we want to have with our company. It's not a shotgun approach. It's kind of a rifle, right? Target. You select who you want to be with, you not just put an ad in the paper or walk-ins welcome, now interviewing. I would tell you that right now would be a very difficult time for a brand new agent to get into the business. That doesn't mean that everybody that gets a license can't be successful, but they're going into a market that has less transactions. To Brad's part, there's more complainers now than before because they're not busy. Mm-hmm. I know when we're not busy. It's real easy. That's when I get the complaints from the agents. What are we doing? You can't create inventory, right? I can't build a house in a week. My agents and my team can make phone calls every day to their sphere of influence to find out who the next seller is. And we promise them one thing. If they don't make that phone call, their competition is. Because we know that every owner, every customer knows more than one real estate agent. But who do they trust? And the only way they can trust you is if you reach out to them. So, I just think we look at passion and precision of who we think makes us better. You're not going to be perfect, so we're going to miss on people. But you have to stay back to Brad's thought about your values. And if I see somebody that I think over the years really does exemplify who we are, if they work for another company, they're on my screen. And I can read names that wouldn't mean anything to you, but, and I just make the dates when I touch them, whether it's a text, a handwritten card, an email, just see them, whether it's home tours or at an event. We're all great with events with all the different things that are happening in our local boards. I'm making sure that I'm always visible because I want to see how somebody handles himself in public as well.
Yeah.
Especially in our association, who's going to be sitting at the bar from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock? And who's there to say hello to everybody, really make the right impression with each person, and maybe got there at 6 and they were gone by 7:30, but you remember they were there, versus the person that sat there for 5 hours because there's nothing else that's important to them. So there's so many little ways, but again, to me, it's passion, precision, and then follow up on our end when we meet with our managers to say, okay, who have we touched? Who do we think would be good for our company? And then something I can evaluate is if offices are not adding good agents or good personnel, then that's where I know I may have a problem.
Yeah. Absolutely. Charlie, I think that's great. And, when you mentioned that you don't have a recruiting process, you have a selection process. I think that shines through in identifying that passion and the precision. And when you said passion, it was so interesting because the vision that I had is like forcing a horse to water, right? Like that's probably not the ideal agent that you want to bring in. It's that one that's like eager, ready to go, give me the tools and resources and I've got the skill set and together it's a win-win, right? So that's truly what you're aiming to get.
Yeah, and I think first impression, we talk about that with home buyers, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times they know before they got to the front door if this was the property for them.
Yes.
And the house is 10 times better if it's a positive first impression versus a negative. Well, I think it's the same way when you talk about adding, talent to your company.
Agreed. I love that. I love that. Well, we do have a question that came in, and I want to touch on this question because I think it goes back to, it ties into the retention and the growth piece, and it also ties into the mindset piece. So we have a question from an attendee, and the question is, inventory is an issue in every market. How are you keeping your agents' morale when they have buyers but nothing to sell them? Where is the value coming in for those agents, and how are you empowering the agents? That's the question. Whoever would like to kick it off first.
Yeah, we view that as a timing problem. So there may not be a home on the market right now, but there will be a home at some point. And what we want to do is make sure that we are the agent that they know, like, and trust, no matter when that home comes on the market. And we're their trusted guide to do it. And that comes back a little bit to my off-market comment earlier. The first thing we want to do is show them, like, we're looking for things even when there's nothing on the market. That buyer knows, like, hey, my price range, I've looked, I can't find anything. I'm ready to buy when it comes up, there's just nothing. And we're like, I get it, understand there's low inventory. So we're looking off market now. We try our best to do anything we can to find something close, to just to prove that we are these kind of agents that will go the extra step and earn that trust. So when something does come up, we're already earned that business. We don't have to re-earn the right to be their agent again in the future when something does come. And whether that comes on in a few weeks or a few months, or honestly, we take the mindset, or a few years. Like, we are your person, we are your trusted guide, no matter when is the right time. So I think we get caught up in I can't do anything now, and you just need to think, like, you need to earn the business now. You will transact later. And the more business you can earn now, the more relationships you can submit now, is just banking future business.
Yeah.
So don't give up. Keep putting people first.
And again, it's education for them to understand the market. How many buyers come in and say, this is the only neighborhood I want to buy a house in this specific town? And then you show them other areas. that are adjacent to or contiguous to an area, maybe share the same school district because 3 towns go to the same high school. So education becomes a big part of this. You know, we also have just an overabundance of buyers over the last 3 or 4 years, going back to when interest rates dropped below 3%. And we had an inventory crunch there. You know, Lawrence Yun, who's the chief economist of NAR, as Natalie and Brad know, projected that in 2021, even though we had a record number of sales, we could have sold another 3 to 4 million homes with interest rates at that rate. Now the demand's pulled back a little bit. Instead of 37 offers on a listing, you might only have 12 because interest rates have climbed, pricing certain people out of marketplaces to the point where they'll stay where they are instead of moving up. So education's a big part of this. Inventory has changed over the last 20 plus years, going back to 2008, when builders started to build less homes per year because of the demand dropping over a 5-year period. So at one point, they were building 1.5 million homes a year. It's down to in the 750,000 range, and even a lot of new builds are rentals.
Yeah.
Because the rental prices have probably accelerated faster than home prices. So it's more beneficial and financially enabling to those builders to build a rental community. Yeah. That coupled with the fact that the average homeowner now stays in their house longer. When I started, again, a lot of years ago, people moved every 3, 4, 5 years. Now it's over 10. Well, that means less inventory is coming on the market day to day because people stay in their homes. And lastly, if they can't afford to move up, you're seeing a lot of home improvement and people staying where they are because they might have a smaller mortgage and now would have to undertake it. And we all know about capital gains and so many different factors when you go to sell a house and different penalties. So there's so many different factors, but inventory is an issue that's going to, I don't want to say plague, but certainly challenge us for the next 5 years. It's not a 1-year issue. It's been ongoing. And again, everybody will tell you 21 was a tough year in inventory. Somehow we sold a lot of properties. And I'll leave you one last thought on that. When a house sells overnight, the shelf life of it is not what it used to be of 3 months or 6 months. Now when it sells in 24 hours, it never shows as inventory.
Yeah.
And yet there was a buyer and a seller that took place. So you've got to go make your own inventory. And there are people that will move if they understand their value, they understand their equity, and understand there is a place to go to if you think about where you want to be 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Well, you know, as we talk about the best time to plant a tree is 50 years ago, the next best time is today. And we tell agents and we tell homeowners and buyers that if you think about that, there's never a perfect time, but there is for you in that given day.
Exactly. I agree. I think the only thing that I would add on to what Brad and Charlie has asked is, you know, when you're looking at this, having this conversation with your agents, where are you going to find the inventory? And you guys started to touch on this, and it's a big piece. I like to call this the season of being the matchmaker. You probably have a ton of business or a decent amount of business that's sitting right in your SOI for the agents. And when we say I say it's the season of being a matchmaker. If you have a client that is willing to sell, but they only want to live at 123 Main Street or on Main Street, have those agents go through their database. How many people do they have in their database that lives on Main Street? They may uncover that they have 4 people that live on Main Street. So it's a matter of being top of mind, having conversations with those clients and, you know, understanding what their needs are, and then being the matchmaker and bringing those deals together. It may not be in the MLS. You could possibly be sitting on it in your database. Absolutely. Well, we are at the top of the hour. So gentlemen, I'm going to let us wrap it up for our attendees. And I'm just going to have, let's see, if we could give one piece of advice to everyone in terms of business planning for this year and moving into next year, what would that piece of advice be?
I'll let the youngster go first.
Thank you,
Brad,
Tyler.
you're up.
All right, I would say you need to know your unique position, your value prop, your selling position, whatever you want to call it, but your unique position in the local marketplace. If you can't define that, if you can't speak to that, whether it's the purpose you exist, the vision you're after, the values you're based on, the value proposition you give to clients, your competitive advantage, you need to define that first and foremost. Stop everything you're doing, get that nailed. And then once you have that down where you can communicate it to yourself, to your team, to your clients, I would spend all my effort every day trying to scale that and improve that and strengthen that unique position so that it's impenetrable from any competition.
I think that's spot on. Charlie, your one piece of advice.
I would just, as I tell our managers and tell our agents, change is inevitable. So if you're not going to change, then you'll be left behind. So you have to adjust in every marketplace. Doesn't mean that real estate has changed. The way of doing business may have changed. And again, you know, a year from now, we could sit and have a conversation where inventory now has doubled or tripled because interest rates went up and people now are trying to take advantage of, maybe I can still get the highest price, right? Because there's buyers out there. So everything changes. So you have to be aware of being that trusted advisor to your buyer and seller, but making sure they understand what exists today on April 1st could be different. On May 1st could be different. There's so many things, but if you work with the consistency of how they approach their day-to-day business, you're going to be better. And we all know the ups and downs, but change will be something that whoever adapts best will be most productive.
Yeah.
And that's
I
what
love
we
it.
work on. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous. Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate that. So you heard, I think, I'm hoping, my hope is that you had a couple of nuggets and takeaways from these two. So much information and content that were shared. Thank you. And also thank you for pulling back the curtain and giving us some insight into your brokerage, your team, your leadership style, your management, because there's not a true book, a playbook that tells us how to do this, right? So for everyone that's wanting and thriving to have that successful brokerage model, there were so many ahas and takeaways from me today. So thank you, Brad. Thank you, Charlie. We're going to close it on one quick quote. If the world were perfect, it wouldn't be. So if you're waiting for the market to become perfect, waiting for that perfect opportunity to take the steps in building the brokerage, in actually finalizing that business plan to take your brokerage to the next level, or simply just starting it, there's no better time than today, right? So just get started and don't miss that opportunity. One thing we know for sure is that our market is consistent with change. So figure out what your value is, what you're going to provide to agents as they're moving forward throughout this year and into the future, and then dial in on that. And how can you best serve your community? Those were my big takeaways from the gentleman today. So thank you again to the attendees and participants. Thank you. That's all we have. We'll see you guys soon. Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Bye. See you, Charlie.
Thanks, Natalie. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
You bet.